Hello and welcome to the only podcast who is no longer invited to dinner parties after getting full off of coconut shrimp because according to the host and fellow Star Wars fan paraphrasing Palpatine, the first hors d'oeuvre was just the beginning. I'm Luke.
I'm Max.
I'm Matt.
And this is Force for Thought. Alright, hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be discussing mostly the new Andor Season 2 trailer that just dropped this week, but before we get into it, we can make this kind of a quasi-news recap because there was some stuff worth talking about. Matt, you texted us this morning this news that Kathleen Kennedy is maybe retiring at the end of the year. Honk if you heard that before, but this does seem a bit more legitimate at this point. What do you guys think about it?
I have not heard that before. I mean, I've heard like people saying she's going to get fired or step down or something, but like, I think her actively saying she's going to retire, I have not heard that before.
I did not read the news article. Was it a quote from her?
Oh, I don't know if it was a quote from her or not. I think it was just some insider information that was talking about she's.
I've heard lots of insider information reporting on that for the last decade.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, it makes sense. I think like with her age and stuff too, and honestly, like. She owes nobody anything, and I think it's time. I mean, I'm glad she didn't step down when people were like, "You need to step down because everything sucks," kind of phase. And so I'm glad, like I think Luke, you texted this, like go out on a high note with Andor, and it's like, I'd be very interested in seeing where Star Wars is going to go in, with somebody brand new or in that seat, I guess.
Yeah,
Max?
that was my text. I said she's wanting to go out with a bang, so she's like, all right, Andor Season 2, and then I'm calling it quits.
Yeah, that's a great way to go.
Yeah.
I'd say too,
But I don't know.
The reports were saying end of 2025, though, which is a good amount of time away from the end of Andor Season 2. There will definitely be at least one more show that comes out before then.
Definitely?
Tales of the Jedi Season 2, or 3 rather, Tales of whatever.
Yeah, something like that. But
no,
it's
a Star Wars Visions year. But no, I think something will start in the fall. Some new animated series.
I hope that's true.
It's not definite, I guess. But there's no way they're only releasing one Star Wars project along with
we got some
Visions for the
pretty
whole year.
good insider information from Luke Taylor that says it will happen. So feeling pretty good about it.
You heard it here first, folks.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't really care one way or another. We'll see what, if any, difference it actually makes moving forward. I don't think there will be one. And I also think whoever is selected to lead after her is probably going to be someone who I don't even know of at this point. I mean, it's not going to be Dave Filoni as much as everyone keeps saying they want it to be. I don't even think he wants that. I think he wants to be more of a creative role than administrative or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it should be either. It's like, that's just, I don't know. It's just anybody besides Star Wars fans and any other IP besides MCU, like it's the MCU started this weird thing where it's like everyone knows who Kevin Feige is. But like before that, which is good to put a face to the name, but realistically that person is just a face to the company. Like it's not like the end all be all, as we all know, or any sort of person with some sort of intellect. And so it's just like it doesn't really matter, and it's just this weirdness where you're like you can blame somebody. Like it almost feels like I've seen so many articles, I'm sure you guys have as well, that it's like it's time for Kevin Feige to hang up the reins because the MCU is failing and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, but like maybe it's just not his fault, right? Like it's just like they kind of tapped out. It's kind of the way they built this thing is that it's not meant to last, but it's like the money and the studios, the people behind him want it to keep going, the machine to keep going. It's the same thing. It's like it's gonna be okay, like whatever we do next.
Yeah. As far as Kathleen Kennedy is concerned, I mean, I've heard it very consistently for the last decade. Eventually, it's going to be correct, and it's as good a time as any is now. But I agree, it will not really change Star Wars as far as we're concerned in terms of anything we'll notice. Like, even if she was in charge of anything creative, which I maintain that she really wasn't overall her tenure at Lucasfilm, Dave Filoni got hired as the chief creative officer, last year? And so there's not even the illusion of her being in charge of anything that we really care about. So, yeah, I don't care. Get someone else in, let her stay. I have no real preference, but that is technically news, I guess. The other news I wanted...
last thing, I would be shocked. I don't know if this makes me an optimist or pessimist, but I would be shocked if someone else steps in and completely turns the ship around and suddenly every single thing they put out is Andor quality. Like, hopefully that's the case. I mean,
yeah,
I would love it. Hopefully we're proven wrong and everyone is like vindicated on the internet who's like, we told you Kathleen Kennedy was the problem. Hopefully she is. That would be great, but I don't think it is. I think a lot of it is caused by higher ups than her at Disney for how they just want to run the business, because I think they're getting directives from the streaming service saying like, hey, we really need a live action TV show to fill this spot and all this other stuff that I don't think is contributing to the creative decisions.
A couple elements just going off of that is that like it would be a really smart, honestly, idea to be like, I mean, it's her name. I'm sure there'd be a huge paycheck attached to this as well, but there's an element to that which we can get into, but the fact that the trailer says it's oh my god, I forget the wording. I was like, I marked it down. I don't have my notes in front of me. But they specifically say it's like, I don't know, like it sticks to its guns or whatever, like along those. I'll look it up while we're going to talk about the actual trailer, but it feels like they're setting up to be like, hey, we know that this is like critically acclaimed. We know people. We're going to rely on saying the critics love it, and not the fans necessarily, because like it's going to go a longer way to say like critics love this show, so it's not just for Star Wars fans. But they also were talking about how it's bold storytelling, I believe, and so I feel like they are setting up to be like, this is going to become the gold standard. It has been, but I feel like it'd be really smart to start producing things like it's one of those things like, you know, we're going to start seeing things trickle in that have already been made decision-wise from 2 years ago, 3 years ago, obviously with Mandalorian moving. So whoever takes over the reins, it'd be really smart to be like, hey, Andor's a gold standard. Everything is going to revolve around that. Because if you go to those YouTube comments in the trailer, all positive. The only thing people, which we'll talk about, is like, this music's weird, but like we have trust fully in the creators, right? And so it'd be really smart to be like, you know what, we're going to start turning this ship around, and we're just going to have like Kathleen Kennedy kind of like, you know, kind of ruin her name a little bit. And then that'd be a smart idea from a business perspective to be like, it was Kathleen Kennedy. It's not Star Wars. Star Wars is great. You love it. It was this person. That'd be a smart business way to go about it, is to throw her under the bus, to be honest. And again, like I said,
but they would have to back that up though then with the products.
But we know they can. You know, that's the thing, is that there's been glimmers of it, you know, not within Andor, but then, you know, we know they can do this. It's just, you know,
there's been glimmers of it. The problem is, from a business perspective, though, I don't think Andor is helping Disney Plus as much as Lucasfilm would like it to be. I think it is by far, in a way, the best received Star Wars show, but I don't think it's doing gangbusters, drawing new subscribers to their service. And I think that's all they care about. I think as far as quality, it is the gold standard. But as far as what the business needs it to do, it isn't.
Yeah, I think it's the second least successful by metrics show after The Acolyte. Like, if they could make a show as good and put Luke Skywalker's face on it, yeah, it would make $1 billion. But I don't know if they, like, as much as I want every show to be as good as Andor, you can't really make every show like Andor. No. And so then it's just like, yeah, the goal is always to make a good show.
But I think this maybe trickles into a little bit of the trailer, but I feel like they're testing something a little bit newer out. I think they're going to be able to crack it, but also I feel like this might be a bigger discussion, and I would love to do an episode on it. I can't imagine how many times I say that, and then we don't talk about it in a full episode, because it's like, yeah, this maybe just be a quick conversation in a segmented version.
Never doubt, because we did a full episode on Cyril Karn being a hero, and so
that's true. And let me tell you, I'm excited to talk about him in this trailer specifically, because I was like,
he's in it.
Maybe Luke's right. Like, that was my first thought.
If you're,
oh yes. Yeah.
We're really delving into the trailer a lot, and there's just one more piece of news that you're not going to care about anyway. So I just
wait. Hang on, I'm not done. I'm not done my thought yet. Hang on. The thing I was going to say
is it about the trailer?
No, it's not about the trailer. Sorry, it's just about the legacy of. I agree with Max that like the streamers want their content to be flushed out, right? The Netflix streaming model is to get, you know, they don't care about legacy of shows. They just want people in, churn and burn, 3 seasons and done, right? Like, you no longer see a lot of things getting renewed. But I think that is going on, combated with the fact of legacy. And I hope that Star Wars takes, and it always has, but I'm hoping it takes the stance of legacy to build on, right? So it's like, sure, maybe a couple shows here and there, they added to the story, they added to the general zeitgeist or world building of Star Wars, but now they're going to focus more on the legacy of it, because we are in a weird world where I think these things are both combated at, right? Netflix just put in a bunch of money into figuring out movies or shows rather than we talked about this a couple weeks ago, where things are said repeatedly over and over again like a soap opera, so that people they're basically going to be shows that are meant to be watched in the background, right? And so like the way movies and TV shows are being consumed is just different. And this is like so in the weeds and so inside baseball and whatever. But I think there's a fact of like when you're talking about Star Wars, it's like I don't want that to ever be the case, right? Do young kid Star Wars shows and stuff like Young Jedi Adventures, but I never want Star Wars to be in that group of like I would never want Star Wars to be in like a Quibi, right? Like it should be
Quibi
quality the entire time, right? It should never be I don't know. It should never be an afterthought, I think. And it should be something that we still watch Star Wars from the 70s and 80s now and holds up, whether it's in effects, whether it's in story. I think that should be the gold standard. Not necessarily Andor, all the time, but just that idea of what Andor encases to me. Sorry for monologuing.
No, that was very well said. The other bit of news is hardly news, but I wanted to talk about it. The between a tweet from Michael Siglain and a Charles Soule newsletter, there has now been 2 instances in the High Republic that refer to the end of Phase 3 coming out this summer as the end of the beginning, and not the beginning of the end. So let me put on my tinfoil hat and talk about how the High Republic's going to live forever, because it is massively successful. I love it very much, and it is slated by all standards to end in June. And they're really teasing us that it's not going to, whether that's going to be with more comics or books or a TV show that they're going to announce at Celebration or, movies or video games. It could be anything. I just want to put that on everyone's radar. That's really exciting for us High Republic fans.
I love that.
Everything's in 3s, so after this, they're going to do the Medium Republic, and then it's going to be the Low Republic, and then that just builds right into the Republic.
That's hilarious. The downgrade in a position.
All right, let's get in. Excuse me. Let's get into the trailer. Broad strokes. Thumbs up. Liked it.
Yeah. Yep.
Good trailer.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you want to start with the music? Oh, sorry.
High level. They are definitely marketing it towards a different audience than we're familiar with them marketing Star Wars projects to. It feels very different, not just from Andor, from every single trailer that's come out since The Force Awakens in Star Wars. They have never once talked about. I feel like they never put Rolling Stones reviews or Variety reviews in the trailer. People don't care about the critics or whatever the storytelling is, and that's definitely different this time. I think that's a good decision because Star Wars fans are going to watch whatever Star Wars puts out, even if you don't advertise it. So it just makes sense to start marketing towards non-Star Wars fans and just TV fans in general. And I think this is a great show to do that. That's what I always recommend to non-Star Wars fans whenever they ask for TV show recommendations. I say Andor because it's amazing independence of Star Wars. I don't think that's a bad choice, but it was definitely jarring watching the trailer for the first time. It felt very different.
I agree. I mean, sorry, Max, you got something? I feel like I've been talking a lot this episode.
No, I was just going to say that I agree, but I feel like advertising for a season 2 is a lot different than trying to bring people on to a new show. I'll have to go back and look at what the trailer for like Mandalorian season 2 was like, but I feel like, yeah, they're pretty confident with Andor. They're like, yeah, you know what it is, right? They don't need to rely on, look, everyone's going to say it's fantastic, but at the same time, that is kind of why I was equally confused by the music choice. That was definitely not necessarily the highlight, but the major talking point coming out of it. And like Matt said, that seems to be the consensus online as well, is that it was definitely a choice. And I am one of the many people who's like, yeah, if I didn't know about this show, I'd be a little off put, but because I saw season 1 and I do have full faith in this, that I know it's going to be good, but I'm like, are they going to use this song in the show? And how is it going to fit into the show? Is it just for the trailer?
No.
If it's just for the trailer, why did they do it just for the trailer? Like, that seems so weird to me. So I'm like, is this like a logistics thing? Like, were they just like not ready to like use any audio or music yet? And so they were like, just use 2 lines of dialogue, do mostly action shots, and just pick a song from somewhere. Because, I mean, it worked really well. I liked it a lot. I liked how it was kind of synced up with the action going on. But it was an action-packed trailer. I mean, that's all it was like every single shot was gunfire, explosions, people screaming, dead bodies. Like, it was awesome.
Yep. Max, I think it was the opposite of what you're saying, though. I think what Luke said it perfectly, where Star Wars fans who like Andor are going to watch this show, so they're trying to draw in other people, with critic reviews to be like, hey, people love this show, not just Star Wars fans, but critics loved it, and here's why. And then I think we're already hooked. I think people were concerned that it's not going to have that gritty tone that the first season had, but I think this is a great bait and switch, obviously. And also, I'm okay with some lighter moments. We're still going to get that amazing storytelling. I mean, they talk about the storytelling in the first season, and to be honest, I think people are going to be really intrigued when they see an action-packed trailer and be like, oh, like, what was the first season if the storytelling was so good that, like, this doesn't show any storytelling? They're that confident in it. And so, like, I think it's going to really draw people in who have not seen it and be like, oh, shit, like, everyone's talking about the music in this trailer, I feel like, and that is a huge point to be like, what did I even know what Andor was? People who have not seen it. And I think I also love the shot choices because they're all bright, they're all orangey, they're all cream colored. We don't see any darkness, we don't see like any nighttime shots. It's just broad daylight action, which is also incredibly hard, I feel like, to pull off sometimes. Even when they're on Ferrix in season 1, it's like cloudy, but like this is like broad daylight a lot of the times that we see it. Full sun out, which is like always the storytelling is so good that they don't even need to be like the atmosphere is dark. It's like, no, this just happens during a day. Doesn't matter. Like, that's how I think good the show is going to be. So seeing these shots and stuff too, and with this music, I'm like, they are so confident in what they have, I think, that they're like, yeah, we can show this and draw on other audiences because people who loved Andor are going to love Andor. Like, I sent it to Sway and she's like, I'm going to stop everything I'm doing right now. And like, knowing Sway is probably something important. Like, it's like, and so I was like, people are going to watch this trailer no matter what. And I'm like, oh, I love the trailer. I could always use more, but I'm at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to know anything else about the season. I just want to go into it. And I'm like, I love these characters. I want to see what Cyril Karn does. I want to see what Dedra does. I want to see, obviously, what Andor, that slick bastard, Luke, I cannot imagine you're hard on when you saw his costume.
Whose costume at that time?
At the end when he
Andor.
blinks.
Yeah,
He just kind of gives a little smirk.
All
to the
those
camera.
angles?
His formal attire? Yes, that does look good.
Are you guys
did
worried?
you notice?
Are you guys worried
Go
that
ahead.
they used like all of the action shots for the trailer, and it's kind of like the equivalent to a comedy using all their best jokes in the trailer?
We've seen a lot of action from that sequence in what looks like a town square. We've seen now Cyril Karn walk out into it, and I forget. Of course, that's the one specific part that I remember. But we've seen a lot of like wide shots of those explosions going off for the first time. So I feel like that's going to be a first story arc kind of thing, and I'm feeling pretty confident that there's going to be little, if anything, shown from the third or fourth in this trailer. So no, I guess I am not worried about that.
I agree.
You don't think we're
it's gonna be
seeing
one
much
of
from the
those-
third or fourth arc? You think this is all from half a season?
That's what they
Yeah,
did the
just
first
given
time?
Star Wars, like I'm not like overanalyzing it, trying to predict what each arc is going to be about. Just given Star Wars' track record with releasing trailers for shows in that way, yeah.
That's so exciting.
agree.
I hope that's true.
I feel like
I
it's
hope
all
so,
going to
too.
be. I mean, how many times did we do that with Ahsoka? We're like, in the first 2 episodes, I think we saw every single shot besides one. And I think it's going to be the same thing. And
And we were
honestly,
saying
I
that
think
with
we're gonna.
Acolyte too.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like we're going to see all like those perspectives, like what's going on with Cyril, what's going on with Dedra. Those could all be happening at the same exact time, just from different perspectives. The same battle, the same whatever. And they're just in different places. And I feel like that might be the flavors we're getting. Because obviously there's going to be so much more time that spans. And so, like what Luke said, like I think there's a bunch of photos of him. Is there not of him like clean shaven? And I don't think we saw like any of that, basically, besides from when he's behind him. So we know this season spans more time than the first season. I'm like, I think, like Luke just said, we see him in one, maybe two, different variations of him in his storylines.
Yeah, that's true. Let's get into specific moments from the trailer that we want to talk about. Krennic was in it. That's exciting.
Yes.
He got one of the 2 lines. Were there literally only 2 lines in the whole trailer?
There are
And
3.
he said there were 3.
Yeah.
He commented, "What a swell party," which is exciting that he's at that dance party with Mon Mothma.
Mhm.
Sit me down for that. That's gonna be intoxicating. I cannot wait for that. Given the history of the show and where her character is leading, I feel like it's not actually going to be a particularly happy scene. More like sad, but having to pretend to be happy. Like I think it's either her daughter's wedding to Davos Galden's son, or they're like celebrating a massive victory over the rebellion, and like they killed Luthen or something, and she has to dance and celebrate. Like I don't think it's going to be happy.
I assume it's the wedding.
all.
That hurt so much more. I thought the exact same thing about the wedding. Don't tell me it's the Luthen thing.
I think it's going to be something very not fun, but I just can't wait to see that. That's my most anticipated moment from this trailer.
I had a very
That'd be
similar thought
insane.
with the wedding or celebration, whatever it might be, that it is probably going to be juxtaposed with a second story arc going on at the same time, because I already theorized that there was going to be a massacre, the one that triggers Mon Mothma to publicly speak out or whatever against the Empire.
The
Gorman
Gorman
massacre.
massacre.
Thank you. So I'm like, maybe that's happening at the exact same time, and that's how they're gonna kind of like, show both sides of that coin or whatever. But oh man, the idea that Luthen is dying and they're celebrating and Mon Mothma has to pretend, that hurts. That hurts.
That's such a weird theory to me. Like, I just assumed it's gonna be. I'm gonna die in this hill and say it's 100% that wedding, because if not, what is their budget for when someone from the rebellion dies? If they're gonna throw a party like that every single time and have choreographed dances, there's no way. That's insane.
The unison of the dance is pretty odd for an impromptu celebration, like I am positing. I mean, I'm not saying that's definitely what it's going to be. I don't think it's as certain that it's going to be the wedding, but I do think it's going to be something not fun.
I'm going to die in this hill again and just say, for Andor to set a wedding up and this huge plot point and not pay it off would be crazy to me. It's absolutely going to be the wedding. Just like from the storytelling perspective. Come on, right?
Yeah, because what's his name? We see what's his name in it too. The guy that she's
Davos Galden,
yeah.
And he's wearing the same costume, which is one of my favorite costumes of all time. But also, Mon Mothma wouldn't be caught dead wearing the same costume twice in Star Wars, so I wouldn't mind seeing another excellent costume.
That's funny. Yes, Krennic says, "What a swell party this is," and you know me, I overanalyze every single piece of dialogue in trailers, and I think that they are all very intentional, and I can't help but think that one is a nice meta comment about Krennic joining the second season of the show. But he was featured multiple times in it. I think he was in it more than Luthen or Cyril or Dedra were in it. So
definitely.
I mean, it's not even like, he's going to be in the last episode and that's what's going to tie over into Rogue One. It seems like he's going to be a main antagonist in this season.
I hope so. I mean, he's incredibly good.
Yeah.
Obviously, left and right. So I'm very excited to see more of him. And he's just
I'm very excited for that as well. Brasso with the Stormtroopers also jumped out at me because we know how beefy he is. It reminds me, I was watching just today actually, Smallville, one of the episodes where Clark Kent, Superman, joins the football team and his dad's like, no, don't join the football team. You could kill someone and it's not safe if you get too into it. And they have an episode about that. That's the vibe I was getting when those Stormtroopers were holding back Brasso. Like, he's at like 10% of his power here.
Man, I feel like Clark Kent should have just joined the Browns, and they would have never seen his talent ever.
He'd be
totally
instantly
fine.
Awful.
Yep. Or just they would give him up, like they were gonna give Nick Chubb up. Just don't give a shit.
Or that. Melshi. We saw Melshi again, and I was surprised to see this one, and I don't know why. He was in the first season, and he's in Rogue One. Maybe I was surprised to see he got a trailer spot. But he's the guy that was in Narkina 5 with Andor, and then he's also in Rogue One. He's the one that escapes with him. It was exciting. That jumped out at me.
Where is he in the trailer? Is he one of the guys that's screaming at the end?
No, it's an action shot, obviously. He's like holding a gun, ducking behind cover, and like looking up and to the left.
Okay, interesting. I missed that one. I did not recognize him.
Did you recognize Cyril's mom? She was in it.
I did see Cyril's mom. Yes, it gave me a faith that we were going to meet. What's his uncle's name? Uncle
Arlo.
Uncle Arlo.
Oh, that'd be great.
Oh,
Maybe that's No, that's too stupid to even say. It's not Krennic. That doesn't make any sense.
Do we know Krennic's first name?
Orson.
Orson. Yeah, it's Orson.
that'd be funny. It's like a crazy, stupid love situation where they call him. Do you remember that movie? With,
What's
Emma
a
Stone?
Nana?
Yeah, Nana. The Hannah. They just couldn't say it. It's just the same thing. He just calls him Arlo.
I'm having a really hard time understanding what's happening right now.
That's a great scene.
I really like that movie. It does not age that well when the 17-year-old gives the 13-year-old her nudes at the end. I don't care for that part.
Yeah, I just rewatched the ending of the end of that movie, and a little weird.
Those are so. What was the third line of dialogue? Saw Gerrera has one line of dialogue, and Krennic. Max, you have them written down.
Yeah, the first line, it starts with Cassian saying, "We're in a war. Do you want to fight or do you want to win?" Which is that's
right.
a great line.
That's a good line.
Because especially for
Yeah.
Cassian's arc about like how he's going too far, and like it cuts right to him basically committing a full-on terrorist attack of like bombing this building in the background as he's walking away, which is a cool shot, but I'm like, "Oh man, they are not pulling punches in this season. They're going full terrorist, and I love it."
Speaking of terrorists, that reminds me, I didn't see Vel or Cinta at all in this trailer. I hope they're in it. Surely they will be, right?
I assume they will be. But yeah, I don't think
maybe,
I saw them either.
Maybe we saw Vel, because I remember in season 1 when she wears her makeup and fancy garb to go to Coruscant, I had a hard time recognizing her because I was so used to seeing her.
We also see like 4 people in the very beginning, all with their back turns wearing cloaks. And I don't think that they're all Cassian, but I couldn't tell who was who, even though you can kind of see the back of their heads for some of them.
I think it might be Cassian. I
thought those were all Cassian.
I did not think they were all Cassian.
I think they're trying to show, without revealing his face, the different eras that we're going to see. And because they're thematically tied, I feel like, as well, to be like, these are all him at different points, is what the way I read it.
That would make sense. But
yeah, I think I agree.
Thank you.
I don't know. But yeah, I like that. And then the third line was Saw Gerrera saying, "Remember this moment, you're here, you're right here, and you're ready to fight."
Yeah, sorry, go on.
I did not care for that moment. It's just the Forrest Whitaker accent where he's all breathy. I remember I didn't like it in the Rogue One trailer, like 10 years ago now, when he says, "If you continue to fight, what will you become?" Like I just his voice. Like, I don't want to sound rude if it's like a speech impediment, but I don't think it is. It's just like the way he wants to speak, where he's all breathy and whispery and panty. I don't like that. I like Saw Gerrera in most of Rogue One. He was not as Forrest Whitaker-y as I thought he would be from the trailer, and I liked him again in Andor. I mean, that 30 men plus Krieger scene was one of my favorites, and I'm sure I will like Saw Gerrera again in this season, but I did not care for that moment to end the trailer on.
See, that's not an unpopular opinion. As much as everyone loves Rogue One, they always say like, "Yeah, Saw Gerrera, I didn't really care for that character though." I loved Saw Gerrera in Rogue One. I thought he was way underutilized. I wanted to see more of him. I love him in the Clone Wars. I loved him in Andor season 1. I hope we see a lot of him in season 2. And that line made me want to run through a wall for him. I loved that line.
Agree.
I thought it was so cool because the escalation or the action was escalating throughout the entire thing. Like, they did a very good job of building up while still being all action. And like, it literally ends, like it starts with presumably Cassian walking, with his back turned to the camera, and then things pick up and it ends with just like this smash cuts of all these people just screaming and Saw Gerrera hyping up a rebel saying, "You're here, you're right here, you're ready to fight." And I'm like, yes, I am.
Maybe
here.
it's also because of how well I know the character of Saw Gerrera now that I can't get it out of my head that he's saying this to some 16-year-old kid that joined the rebellion yesterday, and he's about to send him in a 1v20 situation, and he's 100% about to die.
You can't make an omelet without cracking some eggs.
You're not wrong. That's one of the dynamics that I'm most excited to see is the schism, so to speak, between Saw Gerrera and Mon Mothma that is alluded to in Rebels and then more so in Rogue One. I think we're gonna get really into the weeds about that, and I'm excited for it.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think that line was great. And I feel like he wasn't nearly as Saw Gerrera-y as he usually is. I feel like it makes sense because he's got like his oxygen mask and stuff. He's got breathing problems.
That's fair. That is a good excuse to talk like Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah, that's not what Forrest Whitaker sounds like. That's what his version of Saw Gerrera sounds like.
That's how his version of every character he plays sounds like.
Have you seen The Great Debaters? I don't even remember if he's in that movie, to be honest.
Yes, I actually have.
Okay, yeah, I know Denzel's in that movie. Did not remember if he's in that movie or not. Anyway,
I prefer
neither here or there.
I prefer the porno, The Master Debaters.
Ah, yeah. Who can forget?
Not included in the trailer, but one of the most exciting parts for me is the release schedule for Andor. Starting April 22nd, they're dropping them 3 at a time, for 4 weeks. They're doing batches, like we've always been asking for almost 2 years now, and Andor's the perfect show to do that with, because we know every 3 episodes is its own arc. We're getting a full Andor movie every week for 4 weeks. That's what a time to be alive.
Andor
Yeah,
episodes
I'm
are not
excited.
short either. Like, I feel like if any TV show to do a weekly release, this one could have been the most satisfying, because Andor episodes were like 45 minutes to an hour, and now it's like they're releasing 3 of them at a time. Yeah, it's gonna make some interesting podcast recording, because I don't know, we're gonna be
Yeah.
up late watching that, because I know I am going to be watching them. Are they still gonna be coming out at 8 o'clock, or do you think they're gonna do
I'm sure
I
9
hope-
o'clock is when they usually come out.
or 9 o'clock? It's 6 o'clock Pacific.
I wonder if that's they're gonna still do that, because that is a lot of show to release at like 8 or 9 even, unless the
Mhm.
episodes are shorter and there's just gonna be a screw you, which I don't think it's going to be.
I doubt it. I mean, I'm sure the episodes were created and whatever, edited down well before they came up with this idea to release it in this manner. I feel like this is just another example of the people don't know how streaming is profitable, and it's not, and they're still just trying their best to make do with what they have.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we're not going to just trickle this out to make you bitches crawl for it. We're just going to try to convince you that it's really, really good, and hopefully that will work. And
That's funny.
I mean, I would be here for it either way. I crawl for it every week when they do it that way, or I will watch it all in one night and like it just as much. But I think that this is a better strategy for getting people to watch it and really, really enjoy it.
I agree,
Yeah,
and
I
I hope
agree.
it works out well, just so that the business can figure it out. Because as a consumer, it is very frustrating across multiple streaming services. Some do just, all right, we drop this whole season in one day, watch it whenever you want. And others are weekly releases. Some are batch releases. Some are like Stranger Things. It's like, okay, here's half a season. We'll give you half a season in 3 months. It's like, just, I need to know what to expect. What are we doing here? But yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully this is the best case scenario. I think with the Andor arcs it will be. So I'm super excited.
I
like-
know that I won't be making an impact because I quite literally watch every single Star Wars show as it comes out anyway, whether it's released this way or not. But I want to, like, I don't know, watch it twice just to like support it more. But I know that it doesn't matter. It's like when people are like, oh, well, let's boycott Walmart. Like, okay, man,
Yeah.
you are a drop of water in the ocean here.
I know it is funny when you're like, I don't have any power no matter with anything I do ever. Like, so, yeah, it's sometimes disheartening, just as a society. But I think the release schedule, I like when certain shows, like, I'm okay with like streamers not having a set schedule, but like certain IP, right? Like Stranger Things, like season 4 was like, hey, this is so massive that like we're gonna split it in 2. Like, I like that they said that up front and we knew what to expect, right? Or like, okay, that is okay, because especially since seasons like 2 and 3, there was like 2.5 years between those. So it's like, okay, we don't have a schedule that we're used to anymore. Where like Handmaid's Tale was like, here's the first 2 episodes, and then episodes 3 and 4, and then after episode 4, they're released by themselves. It's like, okay, I have that set up now for Hulu. But it's like Star Wars, I think, needs to be like, Star Wars as an IP needs a set schedule, no matter what it is, or at least similar. Like, it's just like, just give me like something. Like,
I
what do
don't
we
necessarily agree with that, because I do that. Like, Andor is much more natural to release in 3 episode chunks. But like, if Bad Batch season 3 were coming out right now, that's perfectly appropriate to release weekly. So maybe just like Star Wars
I
live
disagree.
action.
That's a good one to just drop an entire season.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I'm not gonna. I won't say I prefer having to wait every week, but that I get that one more. I
don't
understand
mind
it.
waiting every week, honestly. You know,
That's
It's-
like the
I don't mind
no,
it.
because we didn't review the Bad Batch like on a weekly basis as it was coming out. But this is a very good example of one that's not good, because the episodes are already only like 25 minutes long, and then they also have like credits and all that
If
stuff.
that,
And it's like, just like, the maybe 20 minutes worth of content is not satisfying enough to hold me by on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, especially for Bad Batch, it was like, give me a couple more here, or like at least give me. I like when shows, like I said, like Handmaid's Tale, which I don't watch anymore because it's too grim, too dark, whatever. But like that is a great show to be like, here's 2 episodes and then 2 episodes again. It's like, okay, like and then once you're hooked, they start doing them by themselves, and you're like, okay, you know the pace here. It's like by episode 4, some crazy shit's gonna happen because then you're hooked.
All right, I stand corrected. I thought that would be a more of a majority opinion, but I will not. I'm not going to die on this hill. I would rather watch all Star Wars at once. So if you're looking for the official Force for Thought take on this, we want batch releases, and that's that. Does anyone else have any specific moments from the trailer that they want to bring up?
Serial Karn moment. I don't know what it was, but the way that actor acts intrigued the hell out of me. What he was, I don't know, it's just because you talked about him so much, Luke, but I was like, what he was wearing, everything about it. I was just like, something was going on so intense that I was like, man, this guy really is just doing his job. That's like the feeling I got from him. Like when I was like,
he is captivating.
Yeah, when he runs up, and I'm just like, he is witnessing something that is like so heinous to him that he cannot believe what he is seeing in front of his eyes. And I'm very excited to see what it is, and I can only assume it's when Andor blows something up, because I feel like that looks like the same setting, but again,
yeah, I think it was that courtyard again that we were talking about before. I know we lay the glaze on to Serial Karn pretty thick here at Force for Thought, but the scene on Ferrix in the first arc in season 1 when Luthen and Andor escape and blow up a bunch of stuff and kill some of the men, and it like lingers on Serial Karn right there, like. That's one of the most lasting images from that scene. It's not the actual action, it's his reaction to it, which is rare for an action sequence to pull off.
Yeah, because that's his villain origin story. It's that is the point where he becomes a bad guy.
Maybe.
I think that's a great point though, Luke, is that like people always say acting is just reacting, and I think that is something that like is forgotten in modern storytelling sometimes.
Yes, and this does not just mean acting again.
What do you mean?
I was just about to say it.
Reacting.
It's from Friends.
Oh, okay.
Joey's
a show that I do watch.
Acting class.
But it's like, I think, man, it really threw me off because now I'm trying to think of that moment, and now I'm only thinking about the poster in your room of Friends, Luke, in your parents' house, and it looks like.
In my childhood bedroom?
Yes. Yes. Who is someone's grabbing someone's nipple, it looks like? That's all I think about.
No, they're all sharing milkshakes.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
I know what you're talking about. Okay. I just don't want to describe it that way.
That was like one of the first things Max said to me at your parents' house in like 2012, and I was like, well, I can't unsee it now. And I still think about it a lot.
I don't like Friends anymore.
Yeah. Sorry. Anyway,
the other scene, the shot that I really liked, was the shot of the X-wings on what is presumably Yavin taking off, and there's just a dead
with
rebel
that mystery
body,
boy in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah, in the foreground, and it's like, what's going on here? And I don't know what that ship is either. The one in the middle that's taking off. So
that's what I referred to as the mystery boy. I did not catch the dead rebel body.
Oh,
like the majority of the screen.
I was really looking at that ship. It's a new ship design, I think.
I think it is too. I did not recognize
That's what I thought you were about to talk about. I don't care about this little dead boy.
No,
I care about the dead boy.
When people say, like, people were worried because the music, they were like, is this going to be equally as dark? It's like, yeah, because, like, it's moments like that where they put a quote about, like, critic reviews over basically a dead body in the ship in the background. It was so good. I was like, oh my God, that is, like, I cannot imagine the rounds of approvals it took, honestly, to get that in there. And I was like, that is such a ballsy move to be like, it is like a 15 seconds is a long time. It's like a solid 8 to 10 seconds, though, of like, oh shit, this is a dead body with a quote over it with the ship in the background. It's nuts.
I can't believe I missed that. There were a few sequences with Cassian and a girl. One of them was Bix. One of them was Clea. One of them I didn't really recognize. I wonder if maybe that's his sister. because that's got to come back
Oh.
up. We never saw Kanari in this trailer. That'd be
That's true.
crazy if they just dropped the sister in the trailer and we didn't notice because we don't know who that character is, and like they could still do or reveal. It's not going to be a returning character, I assume. There's a thought.
That's
Yeah,
a great call.
I hope they circle back around to it, because that was one thing that always sticks out on rewatch, is that whole storyline from, I think it's just in the first arc, and it's like, oh, there's really no resolution to that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's gonna go beyond Andor and like not set up for a sequel or something, but set up his sister to be like, this is who this person is, and like witness their story or something? Like,
Set
what
up
if?
a spin-off,
Oh
maybe?
man, do you think his sister, classic, Lost Stars? Do you think his sister is part of the Empire?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Mm.
I think that's possible.
So do I. And I really want that
Wow.
to happen. That's really
I know.
depressing.
In terms of setting up a spin-off, I think yes. Not necessarily that I think Tony Gilroy is sitting there thinking, oh, and then we can spin off Cyril Karn and Dedra into their own show. But I think considering the massive appeal critically to this show, I think Disney is sitting there thinking, who could we possibly spin off into their own show?
Correct. I can almost guarantee that there was at least one conversation of somebody in a meeting being like, what if we just don't kill off Luthen?
Send him to Peridia and let him meet the naughty people.
To Peridia. It's just an exiled planet where they just send all these characters that they need to be gone for the story, but they don't want to die.
All right, final thoughts on the trailer. Any more moments, snippets?
I absolutely
thought it
loved
was-
it.
Yeah, it was absolutely great.
Looks like Bix makes a full recovery in the off season. She was unwell when we left off in season 1.
That's
Mm.
true.
Excited to see her back at full strength.
That's
We did
right.
not see much B2EMO in this, if at all. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think we saw him
I
at
don't-
all.
Surely
Yeah.
that would have jumped out at me. We did see some K2SO. I guess we should mention that. He's going to be in
Maybe.
this. Love that.
Presumably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so.
we saw a KX unit, I will
Yeah.
say.
That I think that's. I'm really excited for that. I mean, as is everybody, which is why they don't give him a speaking line. Obviously, they're just like, "Is this him? I don't know." And I like that aspect because like, I don't. Do you think we're gonna get another trailer? I don't think we.
I don't think so.
will. Right? I don't think so either. And I think that this is a perfect little teaser, and it's a nice little appetizer before I dig into the meal. And honestly, I don't want any more. Like, I'm pretty satisfied with the action. I'm so hyped to see this show anyway. So it's like I don't really need that much, and I don't think they're going to hopefully over explain anything else. And so I'm like, give me those little nuggets so that we can talk about to death for next how many weeks. Also, it'll be April 22nd is the day before Levi's birthday, my son, and so man, back to back great days coming up.
The weekend before, so April 22nd is a Tuesday, I assume, maybe a Wednesday. The weekend before is Star Wars Celebration, so maybe I wouldn't be surprised if it's too late to release a full-on trailer. Maybe they'll just release like 5 minutes of the first scene or something. That'd be cool, because I assume they're going to show the first episode or so at Celebration. Maybe we can catch a leaked version of it dubbed in Japanese.
I actually do hate that when Celebration is like coming out with like a new show like Kenobi. I mean, it's great because of the hype, but they're also like, by the way, it's out early, and you're like, shit, my whole day was planned around something else, and now you have to like, it's like they're always like just thinking about the X amount of 1,000 people that are at Celebration and like nobody else during that moment, because that's just
Oh,
how
I
like,
know, but that's so exciting.
I know it is, but I just remember being like sitting in bed waiting for Kenobi to come out and being like, it's out, significantly earlier, and that was a fucking blast.
Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to say about the trailer. Definitely looking forward to it. It's gonna be a hell of a good time. We have to talk about what we're gonna be, how we're gonna be celebrating as a podcast. We had strawberry shakes with Skeleton Crew and Taco Bell with the Acolyte and Burger King with Ahsoka. Given that Andor is only going to be 4 days of receiving Andor content, I thought maybe we can do it up bigger. Maybe have like a lobster dinner or something. But we'll settle that off pod and let the viewer know if they want to play along. Until then, does anyone have any force for thought to leave us with?
I do.
Yeah.
You're just Max. You're just gonna let me
Matt.
have. You're just gonna let me have it.
I was gonna see how much you wanted to take it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't even want it that bad. It's just funny. I was just expecting.
All right, I'll take
you
it
to
over.
say it.
So
All right, I'll take it over. But it's just so funny to me. I was expecting you to say something, and then I was gonna be like, oh well, Max, thanks for that joke setup or something, but it wasn't. I was rewatching Attack of the Clones, and in the first scene, when the ship blows up and Keira Knightley dies as Padme, and Panaka,
That's not Keira Knightley.
is it not?
That's
I just assumed
Corday.
it's.
She's a different decoy
I always just assume it's Keira
and
Knightley.
a different actress for that matter. But
Honestly, I
different
never
character,
really.
different actress.
I was listening to Doughboys, and they were mentioning Keira Knightley on Phantom Menace. I never really even think about her in those movies. I just think of Pirates of the Caribbean. Similar timeline. Anyway, Panaka says, I was wrong. There was no danger at all. And then
Typo.
the ship explodes.
Sorry again. It's
What? Is it?
typo,
Was it not Panaka?
No.
Oh my god.
Panaka's also only in the Phantom Menace.
I was also watching this when I was sick. Do you think, and then this isn't necessarily, this is again, my first thoughts are very loose. Not much thought going into these, so Max probably deserves to say this more.
You're really forcing them.
Do you think that there was somebody with a detonator waiting for someone to make a comment like that to blow it up, or do you think that was impeccable timing? Because like obviously, as a movie perspective, it's just like, oh, it's a funny line, but in the Star Wars realm, I just feel like there's some sort of funny assassin sitting with a detonator, just waiting for the perfectly timed moment. Like I feel like Cad Bane would do that for the joke.
Well, we know it was Zam Wessel, and she does strike me as kind of a sassy bitch. So I don't put it outside the realm of possibility.
And she can look like other people, so maybe she was just on the platform as like a security guard or whatever, had her hands behind her back, holding the detonator, and then, yeah, she just saw the perfect opportunity there. I need to go back and I need to analyze the forensics of this explosion. Did it blow up? Did the platform blow up? Or was there a bomb on the ship and the ship blew up? Because my memory is that it was the ship that blew up.
That's how I remember it also. Like, you see
I
them
believe
walking down
so,
the ramp,
yes.
and then the explosion is, like, in the background, and then it blows up into the foreground.
Yes. And so I guess the question is, like, why did they wait to land at all? Couldn't they have just blown it up at any point? Was this only for a flare of the drama that they were like, no, I'm going to let them land. I'm going to let her about to get off, and then right when they think they're safe.
Well,
I think
okay,
maybe-
so that's going to be my headcanon, is that she was waiting for visual confirmation on the senator, and as soon as she saw them, she blew it up.
I also
Who
assume
she thought was
She
the
knows that
senator,
there's
but it was a
handmaids
decoy.
and decoys, right?
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe this was like a different ship. Maybe Padme wasn't even officially coming on this ship, I support waiting for visual confirmation if you're a bounty hunter, as well as it can be confirmed. Visual confirmation that someone that looks like Padme at least is coming out of the ship that Padme is supposed to be on.
You also think there's the possibility that the bomb was not set up until it landed? Like we were talking about, she changed her face to be able to set the bomb up. She's pretending to be someone in the loading dock. The ship lands and then she
Ooh,
puts
that
the
is
bomb up.
sinister. Can you imagine if we watch this scene again and in the background we see someone planting a bomb on this ship as
I know.
Typho and Padme are talking and no one's
Oh.
ever noticed until this?
I mean, that sounds way more interesting, I feel like, than a lot of the stuff that goes on. I feel like I want to see that now.
Did they ever address Padme being undercover post-assassination attempt? Or Zam says something to Jango. She says immediately that it was a decoy. Did they announce
Yeah.
that it was a decoy? Like, they definitely should have kept that under wraps, right? Shouldn't they have just been like, oh no, there was a bombing attack. Who died? Well, we're not going to say anything.
Padme's a public figure. You know if she's dead or alive when she's coming back to have a very public presence in Coruscant and vote on the bill and everything.
I feel like if there's an assassin out there, though, waiting to kill her, they're like, we're not going to announce anything about who actually died until this is cleared up a little bit.
No, because that's Padme. It's a large part of Padme's character arc that even in the face of danger, that she will still hold the public eye and put herself in harm's way to do what she thinks is right politically and stuff.
But then
She wouldn't hide behind anonymity if it meant not participating in the votes and stuff.
But then what's the point of
Because
having decoys at all? She should have just flown
Yeah.
in the ship with Typho and not have anyone come down the ramp.
No, because they had to kill someone. What's the point of having decoys at all?
Not to
Max,
Padme.
think about what you're
Padme's
saying.
like, no one come down the ramp. Like, you guys are safe.
Yeah. I
Why would
agree.
we put
That's just
anyone
like,
in
that's
harm's
like,
way? Like, I'm here. I'm
that's
safe. I'm
almost
going to go
like-
do my thing.
That's like
Because the
just
only reason
for
she
the
was
point,
safe
you know?
was because Corday was in harm's way. That's how decoys work. They're only
she could-
effective if they're trying to, if they actually take the hit for something.
No,
Yeah, but
they're
she could've
only effective
easily-
if the assassin thinks that they're hitting the wrong person. It doesn't matter if they think they're hitting a wrong person or no one. So long as they're
You
not
are not
hitting
going
the
to sit
right
here
person.
and say that Corday's decoy was not effective. That was
No,
a
it was
100%
meaningless. There was
best
no
case
point to
scenario.
it. There didn't need to be any decoy. They could have just lowered the ramp and R2D2 could have come out, giving the middle finger in the air, saying, haha, anyone who wants to try to blow me up, she wasn't here the whole time.
No, Zam verified that the senator was on board when they were asking for landing permissions, when they took off from Naboo. At some point, whenever, they needed there to be a fake Padme to
No.
draw the attention of the bounty hunter.
Padme's
the assassin.
recklessness caused Dorme to die unnecessarily.
Max,
I
this
agree
is
with-
by far the worst take. Oh my god.
I 1000% agree.
There's
Like,
there
it's
was no
like
point.
It's like Max is saying though. It's like if that's her true stance on it, they're having decoys for literally no reason. But then it's also like she's just acting almost like, hey, this is what I need to do. But she's putting her own spin on every single thing. Where it's like, okay, well, this doesn't really fit. We don't really need a decoy if the decoys are just going to consistently be dead, right?
That's
It's like-
exactly why you need a decoy.
But no, but like if she's so stuck in her ways, if she truly doesn't want her decoys to die, she could have pretended to be dead the entire time and not announced she's not dead, giving away that decoys are consistently used. So now it's like, okay, well, now the people that are not the decoys are gonna be dying. Everyone around those ships are gonna be dead now because they're gonna be like, okay, well, she is consistently undercover and in disguise. Like why? Like Max is right. They should have just let that settle until the problem was solved. Who was the bounty hunter? Like let's solve who blew the ship
Yeah,
up.
Dorme
So there's not a
dying-
second attempt.
Dorme dying didn't save Padme. Padme flying
No.
with Typho in one of the other ships saved Padme. There was no reason to have a decoy. The
You
only
guys
reason
just
Padme
have
had
a
a
fundamental
decoy was to see
misunderstanding.
if she could die.
Yes, because
You guys just don't understand what the purpose of a decoy is. Like, yes, Padme could retire and go live peacefully in the
purpose-
shadows forever,
No.
and then
The
no
purpose
one
of a
would die.
decoy is so
That's
that
not-
if
yes.
that person dies, they think that they got the right person. But if Padme is coming out immediately after and saying like, haha, it was a decoy, you suckers, there was no point to that person's death.
True.
The
And
point is that
also-
Padme is not dead.
Yeah,
Someone
exactly,
else
so
didn't
don't
need to
say
die
it.
for her to live.
Yes, so don't say it. Or she did. They said they had visual confirmation she was on the ship. Just don't dress her up like that. Then that way they're not looking at that ship to blow up. All of a sudden, some random ship. So with the actual Padme lands, and no one's the wiser because there's no sort of confirmation she's on that ship.
If
like
they
Matt
don't
said.
know, if they don't think Padme's on that ship, then they wouldn't have blown it up. That's true. But then they would blow up or they would try harder to blow up the ship that Padme is on.
But they
I don't think
didn't. I
that's
mean, that
true.
would only. I mean, are you saying
They
that
did it
all
because
the,
they thought
all the
Padme was on that
ships-
ship.
So you're saying all three of the ships that arrived were rigged to explode, but they just blew up the one because that was the one that they thought Padme was on, and then Zam got away, and then after the news broke that it wasn't Zam, and she's like, I should have blown up the other ship.
No, because that was the only
there was
ship
no
that she
point.
thought Padme was going to be on.
She thought that
But
she was
then-
going to be on the main ship. She thought that she was going to be on the ship that she rigged to explode.
Yes.
Don't put her on that ship. That's it. You don't need to put someone else on that ship.
All right. Well, now we're getting into unconfirmed theories around how that all went down. But I do believe that at some point during the travel from Naboo to Coruscant, the fact that there was a fake Padme on board is what marked that for death, and that if Padme was never on board it, Zam would have known, and she would not have blown it up. But then that gets
Maybe.
back to the point that Padme could have just retired and stayed in the shadows forever and no one would die, but that's not what Padme wants to do. She wants to be an active, evolved politician, and in order to do that, she needs to protect herself and still stay in the public eye.
Yes, but give it a week. You don't need to give it hours. You solve the problem first. That's what the whole thing is, right? Like it's like, okay, give it a couple days. Let Obi-Wan and Anakin go solve who potentially blew the ship up. I know that's not why they were there, but just say that was. Try to figure out who blew the ship up before being like, okay, actually, I'm alive. Screw you guys. Like Max said, that was a
Padme
decoy
did
the
not
entire
fight
time.
this bill for years and years to not be here when its fate is decided. I know that point kind of works in your favor because she was running away and she left Jar Jar in charge of everything, and so that does kind of lean into exactly what you guys are saying she should have
It's true,
done.
she went into hiding right after. But that was only after the second attempt. What she
Right.
should have
And
done was
she-
have another handmaid sleep in her bed while she sleeps on the pullout on the couch.
No, see, but that's the thing too. She's also just reckless. Her and Anakin came up with a stupid plan.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced now she was not depressed, and it was just like, God damn it! Every single time they fuck up and keep not dying.
No.
Deep down, Padme was like, if I died, that's all right.
Yeah,
And
I think so.
it also
then
seems
she-
that Typho had to convince Padme that there was a danger because he says, I guess I was wrong, there was no danger at all. So it's like Padme was telling him, no, there's no danger. Let me fly in this ship. It's okay.
What does
You think-
Dorme
now
die
I'm
when
not
she's...
convinced.
Or what does Dorme say when she's dying?
I failed you, Senator.
It was for nothing.
What does Padme say in response to that?
Essentially. No, I think.
And then she does roll her eyes.
Okay.
Ooh. Do you think? Okay, new.
Why
theory,
would she
Padme-
fail her? What's that line about?
I've heard that
Ooh.
theory, that meme before where they say, I failed you, and she says, no, this is actually exactly your purpose, and you did everything exactly right. We're nailing it.
Unless that's not her purpose. Maybe there is another purpose, and that's why Padme went with Dorme to be her body decoy. Because if that was her purpose, to take that bullet for her, then they wouldn't come out immediately and tell people that she wasn't the one.
That's a great call, Max.
It's not. She is a public senator arriving in Coruscant to vote on a very public and controversial bill. Like, there is no way she's going to not continue to hide immediately after this. If she came here to vote on the bill,
Then she did.
She's
she can
there
just
to
come
vote on the bill.
Coruscant in secret. She doesn't need to come on her royal ship.
but if
She
you
could have
give
just
them,
flown with Typho and no one else. She didn't have to bring her entourage. She didn't have to let Dorme die.
again, you are laying out exactly the moves she takes after the second assassination attempt, so it's hard to outright refute you. But it's just, that's how decoys work. She was going, she had to stay in the public eye in order to vote on the bills, and the decoy it all worked perfectly. And
I think
Dorme did not die. We keep saying Dorme. It's Corday. I'm sorry. Was I
Corday.
the first one that said Dorme?
Oh,
I'm sure I
boy.
was. Corday.
I think
Oh, geez, I'm gonna Google it now. They're all
Yep,
so
I am
similar.
too. I'm not going to let this episode end with that hanging.
I think where Max and I are hung up, Luke, is that you're right. The doubles are used correctly. It's the aftermath that is not done correctly. She is.
It's
she
Corday.
is-
Corday.
It's
She's
Corday.
doing
all right,
her
all right.
exact duties of
Oh,
dying.
thank
and
God I
protecting
figured
Padme,
that out. That.
but she's not. It's basically in vain to be like, by the way, I'm alive right afterwards. I think that's where the hang up is. Max, do you agree with that?
Yes.
It's disrespectful to say that Corday died for nothing because Padme is still alive and she wouldn't have been had Corday done nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I got a little reactive, I'll say, when we got into those weeds. I see what you mean. Although I outright refute it. I suppose that's as good as it's gonna get tonight.
And that's
We'll let
okay
the
with me.
listeners come up with their own take on this issue.
Think about it from
Real
Corday's
quick,
perspective.
last-
Like, she's being told, hey, you're going to dress like Padme and walk down this ramp. And she's going to say, why? And the response is, so that if anyone dies, it's you. Which the response should be like, how about no one dies? There was definitely a way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, yes, in an ideal world, instead of me dying instead of you, how about neither of us die? Like, yeah, if you had the genie gave you 3 wishes, I'd like to wish for 1,000,000 wishes. Like, if we can get whatever we
You
want
can't
to
wish for a
happen
million
all the
wishes. You have to
time.
wish for a million genies.
Stupid.
Whatever. Justice
Real
for
quick,
Corday.
last thing is I think I know that we're going long now, but I am stuck on this theory that Padme was depressed the entire time, wanted to kill herself, didn't know how, found out that if she had babies, that's how she would die. That she could not give birth. Something would explode inside of her, a nodule or something. So she purposely got pregnant to end her life.
She stopped taking her birth control without Anakin knowing.
Yep.
Anyway, check out Matt's emo fanfic.
That is quite the fan theory for Padme. But let us know what you think about the Andor trailer, I guess, which we spent most of this night talking about. But no, let us know what you think about Corday and how Max and Matt are being so unreasonably disrespectful towards her. Email us at forceforthought@gmail.com. Reach out on socials, and then we'll see you next week.
See you, Sammy.